Large news for every one of you rich mud stalling fans, the G-Wagen on entry axles has returned briefly age. This is the 2022 Mercedes-AMG G63 4x4 squared, or 4x4 squared, assuming you like. Greater, all the more impressive, more able, and considerably more costly, the most recent 4x4 squared demonstrates that warlord stylish never becomes unpopular, it simply goes underground for a couple of years. The fine people at Mercedes PR rang me a short time back and inquired as to whether I might want to be the main individual to drive the primary G63 4x4 squared in the country. That prompted a week-long trial of AMG's new beast truck, both on street and off. Typically right now I'll hit you with an easy decision expository poke like, is it any great? Not to wreck the shock, but rather indeed, it's incredible. The inquiry then, at that point, becomes, is the new 4x4 squared worth its $350,050 sticker price, $359,050 as tried? What it's like. Day one it took me 3 hours to quit giggling. No, truly, from the second the 2022 Mercedes-AMG G63 4x4 squared showed up in my carport, I recently snickered. How crazy. Then, at that point, I bounced in and cruised all over 2 or 3 hours, giggling significantly more the entire time. Perception. Nobody on the east side of Los Angeles likes the G63 4x4 squared without question. Had I gone west of La Brea into the fancier segments of the city I'm positive I would have gotten less smell faces. Had I gone to Calabasas, headquarters of the Kardashians, I'd have been selected city chairman, no question. At a light I saw a person in a red Miata totally frantic hounding me, his look demonstrating that he had something against my precursors. I grinned and waved, and I swear he growled at me. Around quite a while back I acquired an outsider green G65, the one with the V12, and not to raise the Kardashian group 2 times in 2 passages, yet individuals were viewing at me in that thing as though I were Robert's tragically missing child. Which at first is irritating, however at that point about a day into it you understand it doesn't matter to you others' thought process of your vehicle and you're grateful it's so natural to recognize in a parking area. Indeed, companions, this China blue excellence is considerably more straightforward to find, and I laughed hysterically every time I spied it. The driving experience is clever, too. Entering the turnpike interestingly, I passed a second-age Cadillac Escalade and had the option to peer down through its sunroof. Lulz, as the children most likely said eventually. What's genuinely going on with it? The most common way of transforming a normal G-Class into a 4x4 squared is genuinely clear. In a sentence, the wheel centers are traded out for entry axles, and that is its vast majority. What's an entrance pivot? It's a center where rather than entering the middle place of the wheel, the half shafts go into the highest point of the center point and afterward are equipped down. This makes substantially more ground leeway than stock. Strikingly, the new 4x4 squared has gateways on the to its strong back hub and the free game plan front and center. This is the main such arrangement on the planet. Different changes incorporate greater Hagel's tires, carbon fiber bumper flares, a carbon fiber light rack on the rooftop, a lot harder center-looking extra tire transporter, and maybe the hardest back guard at any point put on a vehicle. I prompt not crashing into it. Goodness, and huge mud folds. Fueling the greatest G63 is AMG's 4.0-liter twin Super V8 Elite player. Here, it siphons out 577 pull and 612 pound-feet of force. The power hits a rough terrain streamlined release of AMG's 9-speed wet grip program transmission complete with an exchange case for 4 low and long-lasting AWD. Like all Geländewagens, the G-Class 4x4 squared has 3 locking differentials focus, back, and front, they secure in that particular request. Like milder G-Wagens, the large kid has 3 apparently concealed rough terrain modes, sand, trail, and rock. They're somewhat covered up on the grounds that you can't get to any of them except if you lock the middle diff. Gracious, and Mercedes is asserting 60 miles per hour is accomplished in 5.0 seconds. I attempted to think about the actual heft of the new Daddy G against my memory of the past age Mercedes-Benz G500 4x4 squared. To me the former one appeared to be considerably bigger, yet I know the new G-Wagen, presented back in 2019, is bigger in each aspect. Some kind of optical deception is impacting everything. Here's reality. The G63 4x4 squared is bigger than the G500 in the same ways the W463 became contrasted with the W462, with one major special case. The wheelbase is expanded by 0.9 inch, the level is up by 0.8 inch to almost 7 feet, 5 inches, and the width has expanded by more than 5 inches. Once more, this is all long, nonetheless, on paper, sticks out, it's expanded by 17.4 inches. What gives? On the off chance that you haven't Google looked up a picture yet, the G500 didn't have an extra tire transporter. The new G-Wagen itself is just 3.9 inches longer than the apparatus it supplanted. Mercedes claims the new 4x4 squared is, some way or another, 379 pounds lighter than ye old one. Proceed to figure, yet assuming that it's valid, that is something to be thankful for. Additionally great are the G-Wagen Made right street points. The methodology point is a gigantic 41.3 degrees, though the takeoff point is 36.8 degrees. To place that in context, a Passage Horse Raptor has a mind-boggling approach point of 47.2 degrees and a flight point of 40.5 degrees, and a Jeep Wrangler 392 Rubicon has a methodology point of 44.5 degrees and a takeoff of 37.5. The 4x4 squared beats them both with a breakover point of 42 degrees. The Raptor's is nevertheless 30.8 degrees, which is incredible, really, and the 392's is a measly 22.6 degrees. Because of the free front suspension, ground leeway drops from the past apparatus 17.7 crawls to, simply, 13.8. Before you cry, understand the Raptor, maybe the most proficient creation rock crawler on the planet, has 13.1 creeps of freedom and the Wrangler 392 proposals up 12.9. Yet, how can it drive? Out of the blue perfect. The past 4x4 squared was another snicker inducer, and some portion of that was the way unpleasant around the edges it was. There's a person out in Las Vegas named Bill Rader who has not so discreetly become the American master on G-Wagens with entrance axles. We talk very rarely, and he had this to say about the W462 4x4 squared and its cousins. The former one and the 6x6 likewise had a great deal of odd quality things that generally make me chuckle each time I dismantle one. I reference to Bill that the enhanced one no longer shakes to and fro when you hit the brakes. That was the pivot carry-out and the bushings in the range arms. Completely, I think. Point is, there was something a piece rough about it, no matter what. With respect to the new 4x4 squared, truly, on the off chance that you can disregard the way that you're 7 feet in the air, you'd think you were driving a standard G63. I don't know how AMG's designers restored the pivot carry-out issue apparently intrinsic to vehicles on gateway axles, yet they did. In reality, I in all actuality do recollect driving the Mercedes-Benz E400 Off-road 4x4 squared, and I wouldn't be stunned assuming its entry pivot tech ended up in this new G. I'd say that 95% of the time a given driver will be absolutely uninformed they're shaking entrances. From time to time there's an uproarious drudgery or a touch of stuff lashed to advise you that, gracious. Definitely, this thing is unique and exceptional. Does it deal with, might it at any point be enjoyable to drive? Indeed and yes, I think G-Wagens are intrinsically amusing to drive, particularly the AMG renditions. I could be crazy, yet there's simply something innately brilliant about a block with an excessive lot of force that drives way better compared to it should. Include the boldness of the additional level and haul of the 4x4 squared, and you have a recipe for a terrific bygone era, regardless of whether you're simply running down the road for milk and eggs. And a breathtaking street. I was astonished at how planted, exquisite, and sober the 4x4 squared was while handling corners. Clearly, the seriously clearing the corner, the better the enormous kid felt. Yet, I was dazzled by how the 4x4 squared took care of tight twisties. Dislike a game's vehicle, obviously, however damn noteworthy for a tank. Indeed, however rough terrain, relentless is the main word that comes into view. Presently aloud, I didn't go to the hardest test conceivable. Be that as it may, I took the 4x4 squared to a quite troublesome dark jewel trail at a spot 30 minutes from my home called Rowher Pads. The path is a decent blend of free soil and jagged rocks that most machines outfitted with low cog wheels can overcome. All things considered, I explicitly picked Rowher on the grounds that I recently took a G63 furnished with the rough terrain bundle up a similar path, and keeping in mind that AMG made it no issue, I scratched some paint from the lower part of the front sash. Not the apocalypse, but rather harm no different either way. I needed to check whether I could pick pretty much a similar line and getaway sound. The 4x4 squared completed solid, yet I don't think it was ever at risk for being seared. Nothing verged on contacting the front end. Admission time. Because of reasons too exhausting to even think about composing, my time was short, so I selected not to air down the G63 4x4 squared, gigantic 325 55 20 seconds Pirelli Scorpion tires. Had I done as such, the relentless G would have been much more so. In any case, since I didn't, sometimes, on a precarious, sandy segment, the positive headway would come to a standstill as the front tires looked for procurement. The arrangement was to actuate the front storage. Issue completely settled. I needed to do that multiple times on the path. I'm sure that had the tires been at 18 psi this could not have possibly been an issue. This Mega 4x4 junkie likes to go up on 3 wheels pretty frequently. That is the genuine disadvantage to not having a stick hub front and center, and I'm getting this is on the grounds that you're truly such a long ways off the ground. However, the SUV feels disconnected based on what's going on when its nose is pointed heavenward. A piece of the separation likewise has to do with how fixed the lodge is from outside commotions and vibrations. Keep in mind, In spite of seeming to be a beast truck, the G63 is an extravagance vehicle. You rapidly become acclimated to the 4x4 squared separated floatiness and foster areas of strength for that the thing is about to roll over what's before it. Best to simply pause for a minute or two and take it all in.